Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show for artists, creators, creative entrepreneurs to have heartfelt conversations about living a creative life and a career. As you go into this show, hear your favorite creators talk about money, mindset, business, creativity, and everything else that goes behind into making a life that we all adore as an artist. Hear the messy and the wonderful side of being a creative. I am your host, Charka Arora, an artist, creator, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you for joining me here. Take a comfy seat and be ready to take a peek inside hearts of your favorite creatives. Let's jump right in. Hey you guys, welcome back to the season 2 of Arts to Hearts project. And this is the Arts to Hearts podcast, and I am your host, Charka. Today, I have one of my favorite subjects and something that I have also spoken in the previous episode that I'm way more like with this season. I of course am always interested in knowing more artists, bringing them on the podcast, but artists, women, and creative entrepreneurs is one of my favorite combinations, and I'm trying to bring as many guests as possible who can inspire us and share their story, not only as an artist, as a woman, but also as a creative entrepreneur, because at the end of the day, that's all what we're doing here. And I have someone that I've been following for a while, and I have always loved her work, and I'm so excited to present Christina Massey of Woo Art Blog. Welcome to the podcast, Christina.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. And this is something that we spoke with behind this a bit before our call. That I feel when I was going through your website, which I generally, of course, I do my homework. I was like, this is it. This is like. I was like, this is me. This is everything I'm looking for, and I was so more excited to speak to you because, how simply Woo Art Blog and your work says, like, how you're so passionate about female identifying artists, and like how Woo Art Blog is women. Would you want to say that what it means?
Oh, yeah, sure. The title of Woo Art Blog came from Woe was short for women, but also it's the sound whoa. Like it's just art that makes me go, whoa, I'm really excited about this work. And it started with blog because I really began it in a very storytelling manner. So with the Instagram feed, I would share work that related to what was happening in my day or socially around the world. It was kind of telling a story. So having this narrative to it, which was really fun.
Amazing. And, again, another point that really stuck to my mind was storytelling, because I feel like as artists, with all our work, as a creative practice, we're all telling stories. But as creative entrepreneurs, as someone who's running a platform, we're all telling our stories. It's just another medium. What do you say?
Oh, definitely. I think, similar to you, like a lot of people, you start something because you had an experience, right?
Yeah, right.
And my experience in the art world, I have had a lot of negative things where gallerists have, the first thing they ask you as a women artist is, are you married? Do you have kids? And it doesn't matter really what the answer to those questions are. They immediately have a perception of who you are. A lot of the blog really came out of the Trump era. There was the whole Me Too issue going on. And I was like, this is something I can do to give back to my community that I find so much inspiration and support from all the time. So this is my 100%. Way that I can say thank you, really, is how it started.
I love that. Okay, that's fantastic, because I know as much I can relate 100% to this feeling. I was even talking to this support group that I've just signed up for, and I was like, I feel I don't want to do this more because I love women. I just mentioned this before even our call began, that I love women. I love artists and entrepreneurs. Like, I love ambitious, creative women, and there's nothing more fulfilling for me to speak to more of them than anything else. And in that process, if I'm able to help more people, why not? And that's what I loved about you, and I loved about your mission and whatever you like. There's so much that you're doing. We will get into all of that, but let's get to know you first. Who is Christina? Would you like to? I know there's so much that you've been doing. I really want to talk about all of that, but I just want to get to know you from your heart first. Who you are, where you come from. Let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, I grew up in California. I did not grow up in an artsy family at all.
Wow.
It was a small town, kind of one of these places that you really just kind of stop to get gas on your way to somewhere else. It's not really anything going on there. Everyone always thinks California and they think, oh, so luxurious. Well, not
Yeah,
everywhere is.
you got me there.
But yeah, you can get to cool places from there, but the little
That's
town that I
right.
grew up was not exactly a destination point. And I had very little exposure to the arts, but from a very young age, um, my parents at least saw that I had an interest in it. So they would just, feed me the supplies. And there wasn't any art classes you could take. There wasn't anything like that until really the high school level. And I got very lucky that I had a teacher that saw something in me. And I would say my development really through those teenage years really happened a lot. And even started doing, because you're in a small town, it's like if you're the artsy kid, you get some opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I had grown up here in New York, for
Yeah.
example. So I got to do, murals for restaurants and stuff when I was like
Wow.
14 years old.
My goodness.
And, I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not grown up there. So there's the pluses and minuses of everywhere, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, it started to fuel my passion, and I moved to New York as soon as I finished school, and it's been a huge learning curve since then. And I introduced curating into my practice about a little over 10 years ago, I guess.
Wow.
And
That's a
yeah,
lot of time.
yeah, and that really kind of sparked out of again, we're talking about how things happen. It makes you inspired
Yeah.
to do something. So I'd had two back-to-back studio visits where I had curators coming over. They both were extremely positive. They were saying how much they loved my work and they hadn't seen anything like it. And I'm going, great, awesome. This is a great experience. And then they were both like, yeah, but your work is too original. We can't put it into a group show. And I was like, wait a
Wow.
minute. Isn't that your
Really?
job? Like,
Oh my
that's your
goodness.
job, right? Like,
That's
so
insane.
I know. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm just going to show you how to do this. That's basically how I started curating.
Wow.
I was like,
And I love your curation, by the way. I love it because as a mixed media artist myself, I love it.
thank you. Thank you. I think I curate from an artist perspective. So when I curate, it's almost like I'm thinking of it as an installation
Yeah.
or a painting, and you need this piece to really speak to this piece. And
Yeah.
artists tend to love my curation because they see those things. They're all
Yeah.
about the materials and the process. And that's who I am, and that's how my curatorial projects end up coming out, is having those kind of conversations.
Lovely.
So I like to, my projects, I like to challenge myself by working with artists who are very different than my own,
Yeah.
not always just being like, oh, this is work that just relates to my work. But, that, like, for example, last year I got to do this wonderful show that was in celebration of 100 years of women having the right to vote in the
Wow.
US. And I worked with a friend of mine, and we felt really important. Somehow there needed to be the figure really dominant in this show, which is not how I work. So it's really fun to find those artists and still have that conversation and that flow
Yeah.
and that aesthetic that still speaks to what you're trying to create. So I find it's a really creative, challenging process, but I always encourage every artist to give it a try, because you also,
I second that.
yeah, you just learn so much about how to be a better artist. That's really, it was just such an education by working with other artists. I was like, oh, this
Very
is this
schooling.
is this is how you pack work.
Yes.
this is
Yes.
this is how you communicate. Like, it was the most amazing education I could have ever had.
I I second every bit of what you're saying. I echo every bit of that. And that's so right. Even I've said this so many times on the podcast, like, and I believe this to my core. What I do at Arts to Hearts, this podcast, the opportunities, the collaborations, the curation, anything and everything, even if it's just writing basic content, every day, every Monday starts with how can we help artists? What kind of content can we curate? It comes from my own learning experience as an artist, but it also, I'm always asking, what is that we're all feeling? What is that I mean, it's like it's such an integral part of my own practice, and I see my entire practice like an amalgamation of my studio practice but my creative practice at Arts to Hearts. And I'm sure I totally understand with what you're saying. Okay, I have a question when it comes to this. How was and how you were, like, today I know Christina as, a curator, an artist, founder of art, and I know, and because we've seen your work and there's an assumption even before one knows about you. How were you before bringing this change in your life, especially as an artist, and how has that posed? I want to hear the difference that you felt, because I've just been 2 years, you've been over 10. I am all
Yeah.
ears. I want to hear how it feels.
Yeah. I think, every artist has transitions that they go through, right? And I had a phase that was very like angry with the art world.
uh,
I was, so excited to move to New York. It's like the epicenter of the art world. And I was going around to galleries and I was just really uninspired by a lot of what I saw. And my younger self was just feeling frustrated. I was like, well, if this is what, they want, then I don't have a chance. They're never
yeah,
going to look at my work. I had a very negative outlook. And at a certain point, I was just like, well, you know what? I don't have to play their game. I can make my own. And I can just, why wait on somebody else to give me validation or approval to do something? Like, I can just do it. So I did. I just jumped right in. And it's funny, as soon as you make that mental shift in your head of like, needing the approval from somebody else or,
yeah,
to, I'm just going to do this and feel good about it and be strong for myself. It's amazing the things that happen, because soon as you do that, then all of a sudden, it's like everyone else starts seeing in you too. And
yeah.
so as
That's
soon as
true.
I started giving back to the community, they started bringing back to me too. So it's wonderful how that works. So I'm always trying to share with other artists, like, don't be afraid to share and give some of your time to give back, because what ends up happening is you inevitably get like 100 times back what you put
Yeah,
out. It's amazing how much support is out there. So, and everyone's always complaining that there's not enough opportunities. And I'm like, so create them. Why
yeah,
not? We're creative people. You created this podcast.
yeah,
There's always something, everyone has a skill and something that they can do that's of service to others. And I think if you just put a little bit of effort in that, you end up, the rewards you get are just amazing. So I
that's
always
great.
encourage everyone. Yeah.
I'm taking that for myself, for sure, and I'm sure everyone who's listening would. I would advise the same. Okay, when you started Word Blog, how did it start first? Let's talk about that. Did you think of it to become what it is and make you do things that you're doing today? How was that?
I had no expectations at first. I was just, it really started as like in interviews with different artists. I started with some artists that I knew and I really admired their work, and doing kind of like a deep dive into how they create their work, what inspires them. But I found that wasn't a natural fit for me. talking about what we were earlier, take what's your strong point, right?
Yeah.
The interview process and the writing process, I didn't feel was my strong point. It was hard for me to do. I learned a lot from it, but what I found came easily to me was things like Instagram.
Yeah.
And what was amazing about transitioning this blog to Instagram primarily was
What
also
year
it
was
didn't
this?
matter. This was, I want to say 17, 18, something like that, that I
Okay.
transitioned it. It might have been 18. And it was like all of a sudden, it didn't matter if we spoke the same language.
Yeah.
I didn't need to take any time from the artist. I could still say, I love what you're
Lovely.
doing. I support what you're doing. And, I was taking zero time from anybody. They didn't need me to get back to me by a certain date, things like that.
Yeah.
It simplified things for
It's
me in a way that I could keep up with it. And I think that's a huge part of any project you take on. Do what you can handle, right? So I just started sharing, and it grew really fast, more than I ever expected it to. And then by that growing so fast has opened up the doors for a lot of other opportunities. So I was
yeah.
already curating shows, but instead of now me submitting a proposal somewhere, now people were coming to me saying, will you please, curate the show here, or you curate a show here? So it was just this natural kind of advertising of what I do, basically. And it's been the best part to me is when I get those DMs back that are just like, you have no idea how much I needed this right now. I was
Wow.
feeling down on myself, or maybe they had, particularly these last couple of years, I mean, especially in New York,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of death and sickness. And,
Yeah.
so it's just random. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on in this person's life, but they'll DM me and say, this could not have been a better time. Like, I needed this so much in this moment.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it when that happens. It's just the
Mm.
biggest reward.
Lovely. Oh my God. I can for sure. It's been a very hard time for all of us in the past 2 years. I know so many of us have been affected some way or the other. Um, how do you think in the past 2 years? I know because it's been transformational, and the work that we're doing today, I think we ourselves have realized how much of a difference it's making. Because thank God for you guys, you were doing it for way before even I, like, you inspired me for sure. Um,
Oh,
how has the past 2 years with Art Blog and your work, how does it feel? Do you see like a shift? Do you see a shift in artist mindset? And what's your takeaway?
it's been a really strange time for sure. I think the biggest shift that I've seen is just an acceptance and appreciation for the online platforms. And also things like this where you get to actually taking the time to listen and get to know artists more. So interviews, I feel like, have had this moment
Yeah,
where people are really just getting to, it's almost like getting a private studio visit, right?
yeah,
Except for you just listening in. That's been really fun. And I started providing online shows on the Board platform as a understanding and experiencing myself of so many galleries closing.
yeah,
And it was just one way that I, again, could give back that was already in my wheelhouse of like, this is something I can handle pretty easily. And it will give people that encouragement and something people always feel this pressure. They have to have something on my resume as something that's going on right now. It gives them that opportunity to be a part of a community. And I try to really, with every show, have the artists get to know each other. It's not like just, hey, here's this little online show, but I want to feel like you could actually walk through this art exhibit, that it could be in real life. And I use platforms like Clubhouse, if you're
yeah,
familiar with them, yeah, to let everyone kind of chat and get to know each other. We can talk while we create. It's really fun. So the idea
yeah.
is really to build a support network.
Lovely. Now, Let's talk about your passion for female identifying artists, of course. How did you come to that? Was it like from the beginning that you had this influence and this deep desire and the passion? Or was it something that you found along the way? And why so?
I think it was something I developed along the way, but was probably always there. I just didn't really identify
Realized it.
it as such.
Yeah.
I was a very shy, low self esteem kind of teenager.
Oh my God.
And, I had a voice that just, I couldn't get it out there, right? But when I had a moment where there was this kid who, he was a bully, but he was really started to go after women in a way that was really wrong.
Oh
And
wow.
something about, okay, it wasn't happening to me directly, but that it was happening to friends, and something about standing up for others gave me my voice. And I was
Oh
able to
wow.
stand up to this bully. And the thing is, like, it's funny because I don't even remember what his name was. But I think that just the fact that I got over that shyness and that low self esteem by being there for others, like all of a sudden it was
Mm,
easier to speak up for myself and to speak up for others in the context of like, you can't do this to women,
yeah.
and I think that as I then went through college, there was a large amount of female students, but in the art history classes, they
Yeah.
hardly ever mentioned anyone
Yes.
who was
We all
female.
know that.
Yeah, and same story that everyone kind of shares. And then, like I said, I moved to New York, and I'm very excited to be here, and just seeing just a severe lack of representation. And then when I would have even male and female dealers interested in my work, the questions I would be asked felt like they had nothing to do with my art. They just wanted to know aspects of my personal life that no male, I don't think, has ever asked.
Yes.
And that's just started to build this fire in me. I was like, we gotta do something to change this. And I think it's more than just the artists. I think we need to have more art dealers that are women. We need to have more art collectors that are
Yes.
women, more administrators that are
Yes.
women.
Oh yes.
And it starts to change the whole system because there's still just a lot of the same old happening. It's
Yes.
changing. There has been real active progress in trying to hire more curators and administrators and everything. But it takes a while, because you can't
That's
just
true.
fire somebody who's doing a good job just because they're
Yeah.
male.
And it takes time. I think it's like
Yeah,
one step at a time. It takes time to shift something that's been done for years because
yeah,
we're all,
yeah.
it's a disruption. It's a disruption.
Yeah, yeah, and there's I know loads of amazing male artists and male administrators and dealers who really are
Yeah.
committed to supporting women artists, and so it's not always so divided by
Yeah.
gender, but
I think it's
just
not even
having the
gender. I think, I always appreciate, I mean, for a fact, just because I know even before I started being like, on this side of the just not receiving opportunities, but creating opportunities within the arts. I remember when I was just starting out, or like, I was there. I would relate so much more to people who knew what it meant to be an artist, who knew
right.
I could relate to them. And even today, I know that so many times I'm so more confident about what I'm doing, especially with Arts to Hearts, with all of this, because I'm just not someone who's talking to you. I am someone who's just with you and
Yeah,
talking to you.
yeah,
So it makes, and similarly, why we all advocate more women in the creative fields as artists, as curators, it's because we feel not enough understood. And it's hard for men because they never know. They don't know what it means to be a woman. It's a woman who
it's
knows that.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know that there's any right or wrong answer necessarily, but
Yeah.
it's there's something about feeling, yeah, heard and understood that is comforting, and
Yes.
that they understand the same things that you've gone through, and um, it's not to say that somebody outside of your network can't, but there is just a comfort level. You feel taken
and it's
care
not
of. You feel
and it's not
supported.
this
Yeah,
or that. Yes, that's true. And it's not like
yeah,
this or that, it's about this and that. Because I think that's enough. And this is like an unending debate. Like, people feel like, why they're being biased. Like, I know you are a women based art like platform, we are a women based platform. And you know a lot of times this question even comes to my mind, like, am I trying to block one? Like, I'm sure this must have come to you so many times. And a lot of times people would say, like, oh, again another platform for women. And I'm like, let me think about this. And I've thought about this so many times, believe me. And I'm like, I'm not trying to shut someone off. And intentionally, I've always tried, like, maybe once, twice in a year, we'll do something which is open for all genders, which is inclusive more. But I know that this part of the conversation, what I'm trying to build around at Arts to Hearts, we're trying to bring a voice that's already suppressed, that's not even like, that's not enough heard. And I'm sure you're doing the same. What do you think about that? Has
yeah.
that come to you?
I mean, there's always that question of like, if you're supporting this one group, does that mean you're not supporting
Yeah.
another? And the thing is, there's a lot of different opportunities out there that are available for all sorts of people. This is just one platform that, if you are looking for women artists, this is a place you can go. You can go and you can see what, in my opinion, are amazing examples of women artists. So it's a resource,
Yeah.
rather than saying an end all of like, this is the only artist that exists right now. No, this is just saying
Yes.
this is a resource of artists who are doing exceptional work that you should probably know about, and they happen to identify as female.
I love that approach. That's quite nice of
Because really,
you.
like, some of my first curatorial projects, I wasn't going with that intention actually to make all female shows. It was just the best work that fit the topic I was trying to say. It happened to be all
Be
women,
women.
like for the first ones. And then I even made a challenge to myself. Okay, well, I'm going to make sure that
Yeah.
I curate a show that has all different genders and identities. And I found that more challenging because I
Yeah.
just like the aesthetic that has a feminine quality, I guess. Like, I am drawn to that. That's what inspires me. I'm excited about it. Um, and it's telling a story that, like we were talking about, that I can relate to, and
Relate to. That makes
I
a lot
feel
of
I can
difference.
speak to, and
Yeah.
so that helps me when I'm curating. If I can feel like I can relate to this work and I'm really responding to it, that's what gets me excited about it, and I want to share it with the world. And I have definitely, there's a lot of male artists that I absolutely love the work that they're doing, and if I ever had the opportunity to curate with some of them, that would be awesome. But it's, in terms of the Will Work blog, I think of it as a resource. This is a place you can go if you need to find, like, say you're actively trying to find women artists to fill a spot on your roster or something. Like, this is a place you can go and you can find what you're looking for.
I love that perspective. So helpful. Okay. I have something I'm going to read out. Okay. And then I'll ask my question.
Okay.
Massey has a keen eye for talent, has worked with several artists early in their careers before being signed with commercial galleries, added to major museum collections, awarded such prestigious awards as Paul Krasner Artist Grant, Sean Michel Foundation Fellowship, Residency at Guggenheim Fellowship. Let's talk about this.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, I feel very proud about the fact that so part of my curatorial process, there's something fun about working with those big names, right? They've got
Yeah.
the it factor,
Yeah.
right? But mix those in with some artists that maybe nobody knows, right? Or haven't exhibited much. I love finding the artist that I think is gonna be
The
like the next
next.
big thing, or
Yeah,
has
I
that
think,
potential,
yeah.
right?
And as
And
someone who's reading also, it's not the names that's interesting me. What really has struck a chord is like how your journey of mapping someone who wasn't maybe on their radar, and your journey of working with before till that point or after that point. That's what I'm really that's the
yeah,
sauce I'm looking for.
yes. So, I mean, that's a big thing to me. Like, I think there's a lot of elitism in the art world, and I don't care if you studied art at all, right? In fact, I
Yeah.
really love outsider art. I don't care if you work in the middle of some tiny town in a country I can't even pronounce. I don't care if you got your MFA from Yale. The work is what makes me
Nice.
excited. And it gives me an opportunity to share with that. And my eye and taste has started to grab other people's attention. So people who have more money behind them than I do. Go to my shows, they go to my blog, and they see the artists that I like, and they're like, I like them too. And so a lot of artists that I've gotten to work with, I've got to give them their first show in New York, for example.
Oh
And now their
wow.
work's in like museums and
Oh
all
goodness.
over the place, it's so thrilling to me. And I get to say, I knew you when. I knew you before you were the
Oh,
big
that's
name.
I think that's such I wish I get to say that someday soon. But I so can I mean I it's just so inspiring. Okay, let's also talk about your experience with working with different artists while you've been curating these shows. What are your learnings? What do you you've been doing this for a decade now, so that's a really long time. You've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
offline, you've done online, you've done Instagram, you've done galleries, you've done museums, you've done it everywhere and anywhere. So my question basically is, what is your experience of working with artists, and what do you think is is the secret sauce to having a successful art career? Can I say that?
Ooh, the secret sauce. Um, I think the secret sauce is really kindness and
Oh,
professionalism.
la.
Um, it is amazing how many artists will not get you the stuff that you request on time, or they do it incorrectly, or don't show up to see the show.
Really?
Just yeah, it's and sometimes there's legitimate excuses for
Yeah,
that. Like
of course. So,
that's aside, but it's the people who understand, respect the work that you're putting in, and respect your time. They're professional. They label things how you ask them to. As simple as that. They get it to you by the time that you need. They show up and support the work that you've put in. Those people you want to work with again. Like even if, say, that show gets canceled because of COVID, who knows?
yeah,
It's the people who just show you the respect and encouragement for the work that you do.
yeah,
That you're like, I want to work with that artist again. Like they were just a pleasure to work with.
yeah.
And the diva attitudes, or the
I love that sentence.
yeah, uh, or just, I don't even know what the right word is. Sometimes you just feel like they think they're, oh, this is not that important. It's just
Yeah,
an online show, or, they're busy. They got things going
yeah,
on. I get that. But we're all busy, and it makes an enormous difference when people just say, follow directions, and just show up and say thank you.
I love.
That makes
Oh God.
me, yeah, that puts that list. you go onto the good list.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, this artist, not only do I love
yeah,
their work, but I love their personality and I want to work with
yes,
them again.
yes,
And that, I think, is the key to success. Is you want to be on many good lists with as many people as possible. So just try not to burn bridges. Try to just be respectful of people's
yeah.
time, even if it's the intern at the gallery and maybe they feel like, oh, this intern's just going to be gone in a week, or whatever. Just, they deserve respect too.
Yes,
And
yes,
be
yes.
nice.
That's true. I know. I mean, so many times I've experienced this, especially like I would reach out to someone and I would be like, this person is so busy, they've been doing so many things, and they would turn out to be the most kind, the most responding, and it feels like they literally value what you're doing or anything that's coming in. And I can vouch for Kat for that. I mean, I have never ever seen her, even if it's just being like someone who's just even starting out. And it's not only about appreciating, I think also it's about supporting. And I've seen her literally supporting anyone who began their journey. And it matters. And I know for people I have reached out to, and not that where they matter in their career, but just even as a sign of parameter, if you're talking about, they wouldn't even respond, let alone say a no, or or there will be
Yeah.
so many like they will have so many tantrums if I say so. And that's just disappointing. If anything else, I feel like it's just it I but I feel so excited to speak to you. I'm 100% here. I'm learning, and I'm talking to you, and I will remember this conversation. And I think it's something that people forget, that at the end of the day, it's people who we remember.
Yeah, exactly. And, um, you can be the best artist in the world, but if you're hard to work with, then you get a bad reputation and you don't want that. So just be an easy person to work with. That's, I
That's
would say,
true.
the secret sauce. Just
Okay, let's talk about what kind of work have you been doing at work. Or would you talk about the different kinds of the most exciting project? Maybe if you can talk about a few exciting projects, so that people who are listening, they would have an idea of over these years what is that you've been doing. And yeah, that.
Well, I did a series of 4 online shows at the end of last year, which was super fun. I really wanted to, like I said, give an opportunity to artists who have had all their opportunities taken away from them. There's still so many of us who, myself included, galleries closed. Opportunities that I had planned are never going to happen because those places don't exist anymore. And we're all just trying to rebuild after, and still kind of figuring out what's going to continue to happen with the pandemic and gallery spaces and etc. So that was one way I could give back to the community and also just meet a whole bunch of new artists. I really wanted to, like I said, build a sense of community and expand the circle, so to speak. Because in New York, we can get very like, oh, this is our little New York
Yeah,
bubble. And I was like, no,
yeah,
I want to get out and see what
yeah.
else is out there. And I will be bringing those back. But right now, I'm really excited because I'm focusing on an in real person.
Oh
The gallery
wow.
will be open exhibit for March, which is Women's History Month. And I'm curating an exhibit. So I don't have all the details spelled out just yet. So you'll have to just watch on
You
Instagram for
just
the
let me know when
announcement
you're
of that.
ready. Yes, you just let me know when you're ready, and
And
we'll shout out for that.
yeah, and what's been a goal of mine is to collaborate more. And so I have some projects coming up, working with different brands that we're going to be putting together exhibits that kind of partner with that, which is really fun.
Mm.
So yeah, my goal was really um, get out of trying to just, I don't have to do everything myself. I can work with others. and,
Yeah,
with our combined reach, we can do a lot more. So,
yeah,
um, one that I
um,
just finished, actually, I think you even interviewed her, Svetlana, at All She Makes.
yeah. Cha, we did a
So,
collaboration together. We did an open call which was
yeah.
called Gaze.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I curated her issue 4 magazine, which should be coming
Yeah.
out soon. So those type of projects I've been really excited about because it just
Lovely.
again it gets you out of that circle and network that
Yeah.
knows you into a different group. So
Lovely. Amazing. Okay, my last question before we get into the rapid fire, which is we've
sure.
of course spoken about who art block, you, everything. But what we left right now is you as an artist. Would you like to talk a little bit about what your work is about? I love your work. I mean, of course, there's no doubt anyone who knows my work and your work would know that. So, what do you want to talk about? Especially, I know that your curation is also very experimental, very mixed media, sculptural, 3D, like, everything you love.
Yeah, yeah.
So, let's talk about that.
I love weird materials or materiality in general, like process driven work. Like if there is some crazy weird material that you found and used, like that gets me real excited. I love that. Any sort of repurposing of any type of material, I really love. I'm a big repurposer in my own work. I repurpose aluminum from craft beer cans, which everyone always
Oh my
finds a little
goodness.
funny. And I use materials like blown glass and canvas and paint and fencing and a lot of found fabrics and materials. And I kind of create these crazy organic shape, abstract pieces that really relate to nature in some way. I'm very influenced by our kind of ways that we try to control and fail at controlling nature. uh, and I love the way that nature kind of prevails no matter what we throw at it. And so I'm super inspired by any work that kind of deals with climate change, the natural environment in some way. And I love work that deals with feminism in some way. And
Of
there's so
course.
many artists that deal with it in their own voice and find incredibly creative ways to have that conversation that can relate to so many different experiences. And with me, I have fun with the craft beer cans because beer being such a
Yeah.
stereotypical male
Real.
product.
Yeah.
For me, there's a fun language connection of the fact that they're calling it craft um, as a way
Yeah.
to, yeah, they're trying to make their product seem better, right? Like, so it's artisanal, it's craft, and that's supposed to make it like more
More
sellable.
fancy. Yeah.
Yeah. And whereas in art, if any critic ever tells you you're like
You look
craft or
crafty.
something, it's
Oh
like,
goodness.
oh, and so I love it because they're
Everybody's
both
scared.
these, yeah, they're both these like male dominated industries, and yet
Oh
this
wow.
connection is really fun. So that's another inspiration of mine when people find ways that I think language is very interesting and it can mean one thing in one language or another, even have multiple meanings within one language. It's really that connection to life that I love. And so that's what I'm always looking for.
Oh my goodness. I love this. I love the craft aspect of it. And I've loved the scale of your work. Especially I love how experimental and just the kind of work that you can't control without like you want to grab it. you know? It's
Yeah, I like
it's
to
I
say my
love the
work is
feeling.
neither as sharp or as soft as people think. Everyone always thinks the
Yeah.
metal is sharp. It's not.
No?
And no. Actually,
Really?
I've never cut myself. Knock on wood, I guess.
Wow.
But no, I think you cut yourself more on paper than you do aluminum. But um, yeah, and the fabric areas that kind of bulge out, they're not nearly as soft as people think they are. They're actually quite hard.
So
So there's this fun.
what is your creative process like?
I'm very intuitive the way I make. I'm not a sketch. I don't sketch before. I just need to kind of get in there with the materials and respond and react to what I have. And it's very sculptural to start. I say I start as a sculptor and I finish as a painter.
Oh,
So
wow.
it becomes an object first, but everything is always finished with painting. I'm very connected. That's what I studied, was painting, and there's something that makes that feel complete to me. So all that, everything is painted on the underside, the overside, everything.
Lovely. That's amazing. Okay. I am just so happy to speak to you. It's been so wonderful, and I can't even believe it's 43 minutes already.
You're
And
very easy
I
to talk to.
same, likewise, likewise. Okay. I again want to say a big thank you so much for, sharing so much about yourself, about your work, about the work that you're doing for all of us, and we're all so grateful for it. I want to get to the most exciting part of the conversation now, which is the rapid fire.
Ooh,
So, are you
okay.
ready?
I think so.
It's going to be quite rapid. So, brace yourself. Give me what comes to your mind first. That's it. There's no right, there's no wrong. What comes to your mind first?
Okay.
Okay, one, two, three. Here we go. One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
Ooh,
One.
one
Quick,
thing. I know it's so
rapid.
hard. Okay. Connection.
Oh, wow. What's that one word that describes you the best? Quick.
Ooh, smiley.
Oh, lovely. If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, I love working in New York. I love where I am. I'd have a bigger studio than I do
Oh,
now, but
wow.
I do love being an artist in Brooklyn.
I'm sure that's coming your way very soon. Okay, I'll ask this again to you. If you could have a gallery anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, I have been so inspired by the art coming out of South Africa lately.
Really?
I would love to show there one day.
Wow, lovely. Okay, your biggest source of inspiration.
Nature.
Who's your favorite woman artist and why?
Oh, I can't do that.
It doesn't have to be women from the history. It can be from any point of time.
I mean, that's why I created Will Art Blog. There's just too many out there. I would say lately, probably. Do you know the artist Rena Banerjee?
Banerjee and what did
Yeah,
you say in the beginning?
Rena,
Drina. Can you spell her?
Rina.
Drina Ban. I think so. I think so.
I saw her. I was a huge fan of hers
Oh
online
yes,
first.
she does these sculptural works. Yes, yes, I can
Yeah,
recognize. Oh yes.
she's someone, yeah, who I fell in love with her work online first, and then I got to see. She did a traveling show around the U.S., and I got to see her exhibit when it was in Philadelphia, and absolutely, I mean, just in person, it's just
Gosh.
so much even better. Absolutely amazing. And then on top of it, I had this crazy kind of almost like spiritual thing that happened. And so I've just been like incredibly in love with her work lately. And
Oh
so she would be one
wow.
of my favorites right now for sure.
Lovely. You know how I don't like. I don't know. I mean, just when you said, I felt like I heard her. No, I mean, I've heard her name. I couldn't put a picture. I just quickly googled, and the
Yeah.
first thing that I came to me on the internet, which is a picture of a Taj Mahal sculpture, and this is where I come from. I mean, I am born and brought up. I'm currently
Yeah.
living in Agra, which is where
The
the Taj
big
Mahal
pink
is.
one, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
made out of plastic.
Oh my goodness, I have to dig more
Yeah.
deeper.
Yeah, I love. She really plays with like the East West Coast kind of thing. She uses all these like found objects. The sculptures have this very biomorphic kind of thing. I love her work. absolutely love her
Lovely.
work. One day I will own one.
Oh, wow. You need to have a Taj Mahal of your own now.
Yes.
That's how we all get a Taj Mahal.
There we go. I know she
Lovely.
uses all these like light bulbs, and it's good. Everyone should Google her. If you like weird
Yes.
materials and everything, you'll love her work.
If you want, so I will be linking her work on the show notes. If you're interested, you can go to the show notes on our website and you'll find her work. I'll add a few images of her work as well. Perfect.
Thank
We'll
you.
add the Taj Mahal.
Yes.
Okay, my favorite thing. I love Taj Mahal. I just love it. Okay, who's your go-to person when you're in trouble or need of advice?
Ooh. I have a text group in of artists here in New York that are all women artists. And I recommend everyone do this. It's
Oh
where there's
wow.
like 10 of us or something. And anytime anyone has a question or something, we can just kind of text the group and somebody's got an answer. Like if it's just like the other day, someone texts, she has to move her studio. Like, I just need someone to help, like, move stuff and put bookshelves up, and immediately she had, like, answers and advice right there. And
Love
then, so
that.
I would say my text group is my go-to, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. This is a little bit longer, but let's go with. What am I saying? What has been your favorite moment as an artist? Like one moment that's quite special and you're like, yeah, this is the one.
Ooh, that is a really good question. There's been a few. I would say there was a moment that I was just in New York, maybe a year, 2, something like that. And I had, graduated from college from California, and like a lot of people, I put everything into my parents' garage, and there was a flood. And so everything was destroyed.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, so, and I'd always had, very naive, like 20-year-old come into New York and like, oh, I'll get a show and I can always just have my stuff shipped out here. Like, that doesn't really happen. But like to have that, like it was just all gone. And to have to start clean was actually a really transitional moment. It not only gave me the freedom to kind of say, I don't have to be tied to what I was doing before. I can start fresh, but also gave me this sense of that the past work doesn't have to be so fragile and precious. And I have been somebody to revisit my old work a lot, and I'll change it. I don't let things just stay in storage forever. I am not afraid to revisit, change, and get rid of something from the past that isn't working for me anymore. And I think that experience really helped me to get to that point that, nature's going to do what it does. And if my work is still existing 100 years from now and nature hasn't destroyed it, like it's okay that the art can have a lifetime. So
and I think
that was
the letting go. We, as artists, it's such a tricky balance to know that you have to let go and to know that it's still with you, no matter where
it's still
goes.
with you. Yeah. And there was just something that gave you, I think sometimes, particularly if you spend a certain amount of time doing something, you feel like an emotional connection, like I have to stick with this. Maybe you've been doing it for 10 years or something. You're like, well, this is what I'm known for. I have to stick with this. And it was like this, it was just this break. It was like, oh, I don't have to do anything. Nobody knows me for doing anything. I'm just out of school, right? Anyways, I could have anyways. But mentally, it was a wonderful kind of transition, even with the loss.
Love that. Okay. If you were to meet younger Christina today, what advice would you give her?
Oh, I don't know that younger Christina would have listened. I was pretty stubborn and knew this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it, and nobody's going to tell me any difference.
I hate to admit this, but that's so true for all of us.
Right. I mean, if I would have listened to myself, I would have said, to take the pressure off a little bit, that there's going to be ups and downs, and you're going to make it. Don't worry about it so much. But yeah, I don't know that the younger me would have actually listened to that.
Oh God. You know what? I love this question. I've had an entire season of this podcast. We've had over 35 international women artists, and I've asked this question to each one of them. I love all of these advices, but what's so even insane is are something that we've not heard of. But they're also something that I wish every morning I get up and someone would, just tell me what you just said me. I mean, even when you were saying it, I felt like, yes, just keep saying that to me. Just keep saying that. And if we all were like, if there was someone who would say all these things to the younger version of ourselves, how much better things would have been. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that we do this for others, if not anyone else.
Maybe we should be telling young people, listen to older people.
No, not even young people. Next time I'm going to message. You know what? I'm going. This is something I should do. I should take out clips out of all episodes, clip this out, and I will keep sending you this every
There
once
you
in a
go.
while.
Exactly. Just that.
Don't forget
I
this.
think it's just natural. Like everyone, especially like in your 20s, like you're just, the world feels yours, and you feel this pressure like that. Especially now, I feel like young people seem to feel like they're supposed to be in like millionaires by the time they're
Yes,
25, and you're like, that's just
yes,
not realistic.
yes.
And so,
And everyone's
um,
successful. Everyone looks successful on social media. Everyone.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that you know what, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
love that. It's gonna be okay. Saying that to myself. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
reading. I don't know if you heard. So Mel Robbins has had a new book called The High Five, and you should hear it. I mean,
Oh,
I'm saying hear it. Sorry, I am a little. So I have like I have reading disability. So for me, reading a book means I'm listening to a book. So
I love
I
listening
mean,
to, like, yeah.
Audible is my reading book. That's how I read books. I collect books, but I listen books, and that's how small little things. They're just not powerful affirmations, like how habits, how positive talking, how um, these things can so much shift our neurological paths. It's just amazing. I wish I knew all of this a few years ago. I would have saved so much time and energy, if anything else.
Right. I know, but I guess
Yeah,
it's just all part of the process.
yeah,
So we all have to learn in our own ways.
yeah, that's true. Okay. Shout out to an artist who's currently on your social media heart list slash you're loving.
Ooh, okay, so an artist who I've been super loving and am really hoping to work with is Alicia Piller. She's an artist from LA.
Can you spell her?
Yeah, A-L-I
Okay. Hmm.
Pillar.
Okay. Just send me a link and I will add it to her episode, our show notes. So anyone who's listening who wants to check her work out, because I for sure wants to. I mean, I want to. I will make sure that we can link her work. Oh,
Yes, yes.
perfect.
I'll send it to
Okay,
you.
done. My last question. As a woman entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur, what's that one advice you'd like to give people coming behind you?
Sorry, say that again?
As a woman, creative entrepreneur, what's that one advice you would like to give to people coming behind you?
Ooh, um, remember to take care of yourself too. I think a lot of time people get very excited about whatever project they're in and they burn out before they even get really going. So take baby steps, take your time, remember to take care of yourself too, and that way you'll be in it for the long haul.
Lovely. Love that. Love that. Oh my God, that's it. You were good. You were pretty good.
Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, I have one last question before I let you go, which is where can we find you on social media, on the internet? What is that you do coming up with? You do have any recent projects that you would like to share with us? And how can people find you? Where can we find Art Blog and anything else that you would want to mention?
Sure. Well, you can find me and my artwork on Instagram at Massey Art. You can find my Woe Art blog at Woe Art blog on Instagram. Coming up, as I said, I have some curatorial projects as well as my own work exhibiting in Brooklyn and New York. And
Lovely.
all of those things will be announced on Instagram when the dates come up. I feel like everything in New York right now is kind of on a if we're able to do it at this time. So I'm not going to
Yes.
say the dates just now,
Yeah.
but soon. Everything's on the calendar to come up soon. So
Lovely. Perfect. So guys, make sure I will link everything in the show notes so you can find Christina's website, her blog, images of her work, the links to Pooh Art blog, and everything else about the artist she's mentioned, and the links to our conversation. You can also find the transcript of the show now on our website for this episode and other episodes. So you make sure that you go and visit it and you can check out her work, everything that she's been doing. I highly recommend that. Again, Christina, I want to say a big, big thank you so much. I have had such an amazing time talking to you. I can't believe it's almost an hour. And
I
I really
know.
appreciate.
Oh, I thank you so much for taking your time too. It's been wonderful to get to know you better.
Same here. Thank you so much. I will see you soon, very soon, hopefully.
Yes, it's on top of my list. I'm going to get out there one of these days.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.